What if the Warriors discover that the answer they've been searching for isn't in the future, but in the past? What if the name capable of reigniting the flame of a dormant dynasty is precisely the one who once made silence the sound of glory? Golden State, the 2024-25 season. A bitter, unexpected ending. The second round of the playoffs was the limit. The Minnesota Timberwolves put an end to a journey that, to many, already showed signs of wear. But the final blow was more symbolic than technical. Stephen Curry, the greatest player in franchise history, was on the court for only 13 minutes during the decisive series. And without him, the Warriors looked vulnerable, disconnected, a team without a soul. What remained was emptiness, the discomfort of a locker room used to playing in the finals, now forced to face the harsh reality of an early elimination. But in this gray scenario, a rumor emerges, one as nostalgic as it is intriguing. The possible return of Klay Thompson. Yes, him, the man who once scored 60 points in 3 quarters. The Game 6 assassin, one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. A pillar of the Golden Dynasty that changed the game. Today, Klay wears blue, but not the blue and gold of Golden State. His path took him to the Dallas Mavericks, where he's trying to rediscover his best form. But according to journalist Jed Pigadoon of Clutch Points, there's a possibility now being seriously discussed behind the scenes in California, rekindling the bond with Thompson. But before diving deep into this rumor, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't just report the news, despite still playing at a high level, move, represent the short-term, every story that could change the fate of the NBA. And if you're a Warriors fan or just love any team walking the fine line between legend and collapse, this channel is for you. Pigadoon didn't hold back. Thompson should, at the very least, be better than the version of Moody we saw in the 2025 playoffs. For him, the comparison is unavoidable. While Klay deals with the weight of his 35 years, Moses Moody is still fighting to prove he deserves a spot in the rotation. And the truth is, he failed when it mattered most. In the series against Minnesota, Moody was left out of the game plan. He only returned to the court when injuries forced Steve Kerr to seek alternatives on the bench. Thompson, on the other hand, even though he's no longer the relentless defender of old, still delivers in his main strength, shooting. He averaged 14 points per game and shot 39.1% from 3 with the Mavericks in the 2024-25 season. Numbers that don't scream superstar, but whisper stability. A kind of stability the Warriors couldn't find in Moody's hands. And the comparison becomes even more lopsided when we look at experience. Thompson has played in 158 playoff games. Do you know what that means? Experience. Survival. The ability to perform when the ball weighs a ton. Even with his recent stumbles, and yes, they exist, Klay carries a legacy of someone who has triumphed in the biggest arenas against the toughest opponents under the brightest lights. Of course, his last act in a Warriors jersey wasn't worthy of his legend. A scoreless performance in the fateful 2024 play-in against the Sacramento Kings. An abrupt, sad, almost symbolic end. But basketball has its twists. And maybe, for a cycle to end the right way, it needs to start again. Klay Thompson's possible return, however, isn't just about nostalgia. It's about fit, about fluidity, about knowing the shortcuts in Steve Kerr's system, about instinctively understanding where Curry will be after a screen. Klay doesn't need to relearn anything. He already knows. He's already lived it. He's already won in that jersey. And while Moses Moody still searches for his identity in the NBA, Thompson offers something rare, instant chemistry. A veteran who can take a secondary role without complaint. A shooter who doesn't demand the ball, but turns touches into points. And on a roster increasingly pressured by time, injuries, and poor decisions, that's a difference that could mean everything. Of course, there are risks. Thompson's defense has declined. His physical explosiveness is clearly diminished, and even with efficient shooting, he's no longer able to carry a team on his own. But does he even need to? Maybe not. Maybe he just needs a clear role, a system that values him, a fan base that still chants his name even after he left. Maybe the Warriors need him just as much as he needs the Warriors. In the end, the question is as simple as it is deep. What's worth more? The still unfulfilled promise of Moses Moody, or the certainty that, even in decline, Klay Thompson still understands what it means to be a Warrior? Drop your opinion in the comments. This debate is dividing the fan base, and your voice matters too. But if Klay Thompson's name resurfaces as a shadow from past, an emotionally powerful piece, there's another hole on the Warriors' board they cannot ignore. A hole that not even the most precise shot in the world can fill. Because if the 2025 playoffs revealed one thing, it's this. The Golden State Warriors desperately need a center. A true pillar in the paint. Someone who protects the rim, commands respect, and brings defensive stability that the team lacked at any point during the series against Minnesota. Kevin Looney, with all due respect to his history and effort, is no longer enough. And Quinton Post, promising as he is still in the adaptation phase. Time does not wait, and Curry can't either. At 37 years old, the greatest shooter in history can no longer be the absolute cornerstone of a team that doesn't dominate like it used to. The era of lone magic is over. Now, the Warriors need structure, and it starts inside the paint. It's in this scenario that a new proposal emerges, also raised by Clutch Points, a bold trade that would bring Jarrett Allen, the current center for the Cleveland Cavaliers, wearing the blue and gold. And this time the package is hefty. Moses Moody Santos, Tracy Jackson Davis, and 2 protected first-round picks in 2026 and 2028 would be sent to Cleveland. In return, Allen and guard Craig Porter Jr. Here the tone changes. It's no longer about nostalgia. It's about rebuilding, about adjustment, about regaining a defensive identity. Jarrett Allen is not a name that usually headlines magazines. Despite still playing at a high level, his impact is silent. Represents a short-term, a center who dominates rim protection, imposes physical presence in the paint, and at only 26 years old still has many elite years ahead. In Golden State, Allen could become an improved version of what Kevin Looney once was, a player with more explosiveness, better lateral mobility, superior athletic ability, and, most importantly, someone who can share defensive responsibilities with Draymond Green, who, despite still being a tactical genius, can no longer cover all the system's flaws alone. With Allen, the Warriors wouldn't have to force smaller lineups or rely on emergency playoff adjustments. They would have a reliable rim protector, and more, someone who would allow Stephen Curry to focus on what he does best. Shooting, moving, deciding. But as with everything in the NBA, this deal has 2 sides. And the Cleveland Cavaliers side is full of doubts. Despite being disappointingly eliminated by the Pacers, the Cavs still see Jarrett Allen as an important part of their core. His chemistry with Evan Mobley and Darius Garland is part of the team's backbone. A good defensive center is a rare asset, and Cleveland knows it. Giving up Allen would mean giving up solidity, balance, and defensive confidence. And the package offered, although interesting, might not be enough. That's why, behind the scenes, a name that had so far been preserved in proposals is gaining strength. Jonathan Kuminga. The 22-year-old forward was one of the Warriors' biggest individual standouts this season. His offensive and physical development draws attention across the league. And as much as the front office wants to keep his talent intact, the truth is that to get a center of Allen's caliber, the price could be higher than expected. If Kuminga enters the table, everything changes. The trade ceases to be just a strategic replacement and becomes an identity reshaping. Would the Warriors be willing to give up their most promising young player in the name of the urgency to get back to the top? It's worth remembering. Curry, Green, and possibly Klay Thompson are in the final stretch of their careers. The clock is ticking, and the future is uncertain. Wait for Quinton Post to develop, wait for Tracy Jackson Davis to grow, or use these assets now, while Curry can still decide a series with 30-foot shot. The dilemma is real. Now imagine for a moment, Stephen Curry, possibly alongside a reborn Thompson, Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Jarrett Allen. A new core, a new breath. It's not a team that recalls the offensive brilliance of 2016, but it might remind us of the lethal solidity of 2022. With defense, physical play, and more diverse tactical options. Craig Porter Jr., although rarely mentioned, would also arrive as a young and interesting guard capable of holding minutes when necessary. But in this scenario, he's almost a footnote. All the tension revolves around Allen and the price to get him. If management moves forward with this trade, they will not only be admitting the Looney era is over, they will be betting everything on a rebuild centered on defense. A bold choice, but maybe the only one that truly makes sense right now. The question now is it worth it? Are Moses Moody, Tracy Jackson-Davis, Gue Santos, and 2 first-round picks worth less than the immediate impact Jarrett Allen would bring? Or is this exactly the kind of trade that buries the Warriors' future and turns them into a team trapped in the past? And more, how far would the Warriors go to complete this roster? If Kuminga is on the table, what else could come? Leave your opinion in the comments. Would you risk everything for Jarrett Allen? Or keep the young core intact, betting on a new dynasty in a few years? And don't forget, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and hit the bell, because in the next videos, we'll explore how this possible trade could affect Draymond Green, the fit with Quinton Post, and even pave the way for a new tactical shift in Steve Kerr's system. The end of a dynasty, or the beginning of a new era? That answer is still being written.